feel like I'm going to do it. And it feels like being very vulnerable. And I guess that's the reason and the point of it all. There's something about showing up vulnerabilities which is so important on this our journey. So I'm going to walk back down. Listening to the women in the women's circle. People often ask what a twin flame relationship is. And I realise the only way to answer it is to actually share my own experience of this, because that's really what matters. And if this can be of any help to you, then blessings on you. So I guess the first thing I need to say, I was not looking for a twin flame relationship. Not at all. I think that's a very important thing to make clear at the outset. And perhaps actually this might be one of the essential prerequisites. Absolutely no awareness, interest or attachment in such a phenomenon. And I was visiting in someone's house, and it wasn't so very long ago, but there was a knock on the door without some kind of pre-arrangement. That's becoming quite rare, isn't it? Rarer and rarer. Well, anyway, that's happened. And a woman came into the room and we had a conversation, me and people that were there, and after a little bit there was another knock at the door, and someone opened the door, and this very vibrant sunshine walked into the house, and everything just flowed very naturally. We were eating strawberries, we were enjoying other treats. It was all very friendly and spontaneous and easy. And it was summer, it was warm. And at a certain point in the conversation, I was asked, could I sit behind you? No one had ever asked me that before. Could they sit behind me? So I said yes, and so they did. And I felt myself enfolded in an embrace. And that moment is a homecoming, and I don't say was, I say is, because of the nature of time, the fact that linear time is an illusion, and that everything is in the eternal now. So in the eternal now, I'm being embraced by her who is sitting behind me, and it's like homecoming. It is a homecoming. And over the coming days, we got to know each other, and she was very uncompromising in sharing about herself. Some of the things that she shared caused people to become very uncomfortable, and I began to realise quite quickly, so this is one of her talents. This is not someone who hides behind forms of politeness. This is someone who just lets you know how it is, for whatever you might feel or think. I admire this quality very much. And as I got to know her, I realised that like every human being I've ever met, she had issues and life situations what you might call problems, things to deal with. And I can remember going to visit her with a clear intention to be a contribution, be of some assistance to this issue that she was dealing with. As we talked, and I came up with ideas, started writing things down, and it all felt very easy and natural. And it wasn't that long before I was asked if I would stop writing and put the clipboard down, and we began to connect in the way that people who are discovering that they love each other do. And it was very beautiful, and in many ways this was just the same as any relationship where people get intimate for the first time, and yet underlying everything there was something else, something ineffable, something very hard to put my finger on. And gradually, over time, because I lived quite a long way away, some hours drive, and I would visit, and each time I visited I'd bring some of my things, and over time we ended up living together in her place until something happened and she made it very clear abruptly that she needed to move, to go somewhere else, to leave. And I was becoming very enamoured of the location, as well as feeling this incredibly strong bond with her. And it wasn't something I even had to contemplate for a second. And then and there, we prepared to move to a different place altogether. Not where I was living, not where I was staying with her, but creating a new life in a new place, which is what we did. And again, in many ways, what was happening is we were creating a relationship, a sexual bond. We were a family, a child, her and myself. We had issues, just like everyone has issues, short of money, usual things. And somehow there was something beyond my capability to put in straightforward language. There was something that we were doing that only happened because it was us doing this thing we were doing. It felt very healing, huge amount of love flowing, and it wasn't long before we were able to share the love between us, between the three of us in the small family, with others, and others would come visit us, we'd visit others, and we were spreading light and love wherever we went. And it felt transcendent. it felt like every day is a blessing. There's something about our union when we did actually unite physically, which again, on the superficial level, looking very 3D, it's like, well, is it really so different from any other relationship? Superficially it wasn't, but underneath it was. There's something about what was being created. And so one of the things that people say about a twin flame relationship, what makes it so utterly extraordinary, is what happens at the most subtle level between the people concerned. What really put everything into perspective is when we started to go and do things in places separately. And I remember she went and had a retreat with these people, and some time later I ended up having the same retreat with quite a lot of the same people. There was a particular point I was just doing what I normally do when I'm in a retreat, helping out, doing stuff, just seeing what needs to be done, doing it. And this woman turns to me and says, "You're the male," and then she gives the name of the twin flame. And that was a moment that really impacted on me hugely, because what this woman was saying is she knew that somehow we were two parts of the same whole, of the same being, and that in really fundamental ways, if you had an experience with one of us, it was like having an experience with either one. It's a very strange thing. And I can also remember there's a particular farm shop that I used to shop in for our family needs, and the woman around the shop was very perceptive, and she made a remark about when she saw the two of us together, and she could see there's something going on here that's a bit out of the ordinary. Now, the thing about a connection of this strength and power is it is generally said this is not something that is going to last or endure for a long time. And that's because what is going on is so powerful that there will quite inevitably come a point where the force of attraction which brought you together will suddenly flip into a force of repulsion and push you apart. And the thing to do when that happens is to realise it's part of the process, it's part of the journey. And how completely appropriate I've ended up here, because there's a circle. This is the apple tree circle, these are crab apples. So I'm standing in a circle, pretty much in the centre of the circle. And as I slowly pan around, you'll see these magnificent young trees, resplendent in their pure white blossom. So the apple in the Celtic tree oracle represents eternity and beauty. This is a new circle. It didn't exist when I moved here in 2020, so it's a very special experience. And right at my feet, there's a place which is a tiny fire pit. and someone has left some blossoms as an offering. There we go. And what happened is there became a breakdown in our communication, and what had been so easy and effortless became so hard, so difficult. It eventually became too much for her, and we separated. And I left where we were living, and I thought that was it. And I was wrong, because some months later, at great personal inconvenience, having to make a lot of arrangements, she appeared on my doorstep in a completely different part of the country. And there were things she needed to say to me. There were things she needed to say, and they all came down to two words really, which is part of Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Remember? I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, that one. And all of the wounding was just dissolved in that evening. And we both felt that meant that we could pick up where we left off. And so we did. It lasted for an incredibly short time. And it was like a last bit of completion that had to be done. We hadn't done everything we needed to in that twin flame relationship, so we had this little bit of extra time which we took, and which enabled us to reach the point of completion. And once we've reached that point of completion, then we did separate. And again, I thought that's it. And more time goes by, and I find myself now living in a different country, in another relationship. And then I get a communication, an electronic communication, and it's a request for help. So I realise this is another call, and we discuss this, the person I'm in a relationship with, and not straight away, but in the fullness of time I go back to my country, and then I go to where she is in another country, very far away indeed. And we have a very, very tiny amount of time in which we communicate and relate, and then that's it. And I've never seen or heard of this person ever since. And that's an example of a twin flame relationship. So key points, one of the key points is the level of attraction is utterly extraordinary, off the scale. And when the two twin flames are doing things that other people in relationships doing, like having sex, having an argument, whatever it might happen to be, there's something about the flavour of it which is just so distinctive and different. And the thing that really makes a difference is when a third party or third parties notices something about the two of you that really does appear to be, you're like two halves, you know. You're like the male her, and she's like the female you, and because I can't even get the words out, you know what I mean? Very strange. And that it's not to be expected that these two people will necessarily understand exactly what's happened in this process. But the invitation is to take the apple medicine. So here's the apple in blossom. That's eternity and that's beauty. And a twin flame relationship is the opportunity to experience in the physical body the eternity and the beauty of a transcendent, cosmic, multidimensional existence. And that's exactly what we experienced. And it was why it needed to come to completion, so we could go off and do other things and share what we'd learned, either consciously or unconsciously, with other people. You needed to sow, and so it is. All the love to you.